Hello, my lovelies. I am Madam Crystal Butterfly, and today I am reviewing You're Too Good for That Habits and Mindsets to Avoid When Socializing by Shalise Hurd. When I read this book, I found it to be very enjoyable. Though the reasons for creating this wonderful book were mostly to help cater to an issue within the autistic community when it comes to making friendships and other bonds, I feel this information from this book really is beneficial to everyone. Before I get deep into what this lovely book is about, please allow me to tell you a little bit about the author. Shalise Hurd's fascination with the written word started when she was very young. She loved how reading a book allows her to feel as if she is transported to another world. Shalise also loves spending hours writing in her journal, which provided her with a tool that allowed her to express herself more. So when she realized that she could get paid writing books that help people, she decided to take the plunge into the world of being an author. One day, when Shalise was reading an old blog post, she was suddenly bombarded with the vision to write You're Too Good for That. The post was a message to her neurodivergent audience about mistakes she made when forming friendships. The original idea for the post came from her past struggles with people who tried to encourage her to tear down her self-esteem so they could get whatever they wanted from her. These people who posed as her friends while constantly finding things to criticize her about, especially when she put her foot down about giving them money, did teach her one important thing. She had to accept, she had to fight to always protect her self-worth. And one of the best ways for her to do that was picking those she wanted to befriend more wisely. This was also when she realized that many people within the autistic community can easily be taken advantage of by toxic people, and it would be a good idea to try to send more of a message to members of the autistic community that they don't have to settle for having relationships with toxic people who want to take advantage of them. All right, my lovelies, I know some of you are thinking, well, we're taught since we were very young to always choose our friends wisely. Yes, they tell us when we're little to choose our friends wisely. But think about this, my lovelies. When you're a child, you're in school most of the time, meaning you have to deal with a select group of people a lot. Often in school, you'll end up meeting people, you shouldn't really hang around with. But there's a good chance your friends are never really around all day when you're in school and you're stuck with these people. And often people, when they're trapped around people like that, especially when you're a kid, you feel like you have to try to make it with this particular person as a friend and stick with this particular group. I know people will say, well, if the person's no good, well, you shouldn't even be attempting to stick with them. But you have to think about it. When you are trapped and isolated like that every day for several hours, you're going to feel like you need to. And this is not that great for people at all, especially some with disability like autism. To help explain my point better, my lovelies, allow me to tell you a story from back when my mother used to be a substitute teacher. One day, my mother had to sub for a class who had one student who was autistic. Now, the autistic child was a very good student. He did all the work his teacher told him to do. Most of the time, there was not a problem, except when 3 boys in the class would pick on him, purposely setting off his autism because they found it amusing to see him throw an autistic fit. And the teacher, she didn't know what to do because every time the child threw an autistic fit, she punished that child and did nothing about the bullying, never sat down with the other children and talked to them about their behavior. A couple of things you can take away from the teacher's negligence is that, first, by punishing the autistic child every time they have an autistic moment, be it the fact they were being picked on, instead of doing something about the bullies to begin with, is teaching that child that, hey, they have to accept this type of treatment from people. And also, by not punishing the bullies, the teacher has taught these children who are bullying this kid that it's okay to pick on somebody who is different from you and may have a condition. Now, my mother subbed for this particular teacher, and she saw the child have an autistic fit because they were bullied. She calmed the child down, sent him back to do his work, and then she dealt with the bullies. She sat them down, had a serious talk with them about their behavior and why they shouldn't treat someone like that. And after she did that little bit of work to make it clear you shouldn't treat people poorly just because they're different or may have a freak out due to a condition, everything stopped. The teacher, even when she returned to her classroom, she was grateful for what my mother did and didn't understand how she was able to get the child with autism under control. And my mother was partially annoyed because she thought to herself and told us later, all that teacher had to do was deal with the fact that the child was being picked on, instead of constantly punishing that child for having an autistic moment. In this book, Shalise references situations similar to the one I just told you about, where she states she was always told she had to fix herself, she had to change. The other people weren't the problem. She was the problem. And she brings up how, that's not right. You shouldn't accept that type of treatment. And something else that I like that she got into when talking about how to build relationships are people who like to pretend to be your friend at first. You meet them, you get to know them a bit, they seem to have your back, you think they could be a real friend. And then next thing you know, they are trying to take advantage of you by trying to get you to give them things like money or buy them stuff. I love how she brings up how this happened to her and how she was targeted via her condition because she had autism. These people thought so little of her that she wouldn't have the common sense to tell them no every time they asked her for money. And the situation happened again and again. They try to make her feel guilty for telling them, no, they can't have any of her money. She's got bills and other important things to worry about. Stop trying to mooch off of her. They treated her like, oh, well, you have the money. Well, why are you acting this way? You're selfish. There's a problem with you. You need to fix yourself. And once again, what I love in this book is she says, no. It's not she as the autistic person who needs to fix herself. It's them. Really, the only thing she needed to do was learn to walk away from those kinds of relationships so that she's not dragged down with people who want to behave that way. Something else that I love that the author brought up in her book is self-worth. And how if you do not value yourself, toxic people like that can just walk into your life and do whatever they want to do with you because you think so little of yourself. And she talks about her struggles with self-worth, and also how she knows that it affects a lot of people within the autistic community because they also tend to struggle with self-worth. And she emphasizes using stories from her life, how important it is to reclaim your self-worth, take pride in yourself, so that you do not have to live your life dealing with people who do not really respect you and only wish to take advantage of you. To help drive home my point, my lovelies, allow me to read you a little bit from this lovely book. Due to spending too much time around toxic friends who made me feel like a burden when I needed support to lean on, I had a hard time opening up to people who deserved my heart the most. It took me the longest to trust my true friends when they welcomed me to open up to them and are willing to show up for me when I most needed. Instead, I had a bad habit of buying into the lie that I am burdensome, and I suffered in silence. Matters always got worse when I did so. She was told she was the burden. She was told she was the problem, not these people who harassed her and made her feel less than. She was the problem. Just like the boy from my story, from when my mother was a substitute teacher. He was the problem. Not everybody else who was being mean and nasty. The person with the disability, they're the problem. And I like how the author emphasizes that mindset had been so ingrained in her that she was struggling to go and have conversations with the people who would actually show her kindness and help her when she was going through difficult times and needed somebody to talk to. Because she always was thinking, no, I'm a burden. I'll just bother them. And I also love how she also gets into how that mindset can be ingrained in a lot of people with disability, and how it is vital to get away from that mindset in order to build a healthy and strong friendship or other relationships. My lovelies, if you wish to learn more about Shalise and her autism advocacy, I'm leaving the link to her Instagram below. And she has a program to help autistic people find a job. She's also getting ready to unveil a program to help autistic men be able to talk to women in order to pursue romantic relationships. And she's currently working on a program to help autistic women be able to talk to men easier in order to pursue a romantic relationship. Shalise is also a YouTuber just like me, and her videos are just amazing, and I will be leaving the link to her YouTube channel down below. I really do suggest you check it out. It is just too good. But as for her book, you're too good for that. I am going to be giving it a ranking of 5 butterflies out of 5 because this book, a lot of good advice. I feel both people within and outside the autistic community can really benefit from what she has to say in her book, and I feel that these are lessons that can really help impact people's lives in a very beneficial way. Now, my lovelies, if you have made it this far in the video, first off, thank you. And please give me a like. Leave me a comment. And if you have not yet, slap the subscribe button like it owes you money. Don't forget to give that little notification bell a ring. And with that, my lovelies, this video is a wrap. Now if you please come with me as we dance